my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 of my absolute favorite must-have eyeshadow palettes. But these aren't just any eyeshadow palettes. These are eyeshadow palettes that you guys can get at the drugstore near you, or you can get for under 20 bucks, which I think is something that should be shared with a lot more people. Sometimes I feel like there's this stigma that if you buy something that's a lot more high-end, something that's super luxurious, it's going to be a better product. While a lot of the time that kind of tends to be the case, I don't think that's the case for every single item. There are definitely some products that I can get at the drugstore for less than $10 that perform better than some of my very high-end, very luxurious or expensive makeup products. So whether you're one of those people who can afford luxury or you're on a budget and you just want to save a little bit more money, I don't think that there's anything wrong with knowing what options are out there for you. So I thought I would just share with you guys 5 of my favorite eyeshadow palettes in case you haven't heard of them, or in case you didn't know that they were that good. I'm here to tell you that they're that good. So if you guys want to know which eyeshadow palettes I'm talking about, then just stay tuned and keep on watching. So I think only one of these you have to order online, but like I said, the rest of them you can get in store physically. So let's start with this one. This is a newer addition to my makeup collection, and it was a newer released product. However, I've been using these shadows from this company for quite some time, and I absolutely love them. So this is from Colourpop. This is the Yes Please palette. I'm not sure if it's in stock or if it's sold out now, but obviously if it's in stock, I will have a link down below for you guys so you guys can pick it up. I've talked about this before in quite a few videos, so I won't rave about it too much. But the reason I love this eyeshadow palette is, first of all, the formula of these eyeshadows are fantastic. The mattes blend out perfectly, and they're so crazy pigmented. Like, let me just show you this one, that one, and that one. Look at that. You can clearly see how much pigmentation they have. So all of the mattes are very pigmented. That's one swipe of mattes right there. Same with the shimmer shades. I just love Colourpop's formula. Were a recent discovery of mine this past year. I think back in like January maybe or February of this year, I picked up some eyeshadows from Colourpop, and their pressed eyeshadows are amazing. Palette also retails I think for $16. So you get 12 eyeshadows for $16. I think that's a really good deal, especially when you consider how pigmented, like that's after me doing a swatch. You consider how pigmented this eyeshadow palette is, beautiful the colors are, and then pay $16 for it. I think that's a hell of a deal. So that was the only eyeshadow palette that you can only order online, and I hate to do that to you guys if you don't like shopping online, but seriously, that's one of the best eyeshadow palettes I have in my collection, and it's under $20. So I still wanted to share with you guys. These are other palettes you can buy in store. The next one I'm going to talk to you guys about is probably the cheapest out of all of them. It's under 10 bucks, and this is from Wet n Wild. Just in general, I want to talk about Wet n Wild's little palettes. So typically you'll see like these Color Icon eyeshadow trios. They come out with different colors depending on like seasons and stuff. This was this past fall. And this one, this is the Wet n Wild Color Icon eyeshadow collection, and they have a couple of these too. This particular one was a limited edition palette. This is Drinking a Glass of Shine, and it consisted of all matte eyeshadows. But the reason I really like Wet n Wild's eyeshadow formula is because their shimmer shades are amazing and very pigmented, but also their matte shades. I really feel like the drugstore, one of the big things they lack is a good matte eyeshadow. You guys don't notice the importance of a matte eyeshadow until you're doing your makeup. Matte eyeshadows are what gives you the like transition shade. If you're trying to do something crazy pigmented, if you need something that really blends out nicely, I feel like the drugstore lacks in that department. They're either not pigmented enough, or they are pigmented but they come out patchy because they can't blend out well enough with a brush or with your finger or anything like that. And Wet n Wild consistently, whether it's their eyeshadow palettes like their collections like this or their trios, Wet n Wild consistently has good eyeshadows formula. And I'll just show you a swatch of this one here. This one, and then this matte one. You can see these right here. So these definitely aren't the most pigmented eyeshadows. However, I think the formula overall is still really good. Even though they're not so pigmented, the formula of these is good enough where you can build up the product so you can just keep adding layers and keep blending out, and it looks really nice and you can still work with it. I feel like people kind of tend to overlook them thinking that they're not going to be as well, and there's definitely some misses in Wet n Wild's collection overall and in their makeup brand overall, but they've been killing the game lately, coming out with really awesome stuff, and I really feel like their eyeshadows are one of the better ones on the market for sure. This next makeup palette is seriously one of my holy grail makeup palettes, like drugstore and high-end. I can't believe it took me so long to get on this bandwagon. This is from Pixie Beauty. It's the Pixie times It's Judy Time, It's Eyes Time eyeshadow palette. Looks just like this. In this one, you also get 12 eyeshadows. I think this retails for $19.99, like exactly $20, and you can pick this up at Target. The reason it took me so long to get on it was honestly, I don't watch It's Judy Time. I know, crazy. I'm like one of the only people who doesn't watch It's Judy Time. I didn't really know when she came out with this collaboration. I also had never tried any of Pixie Beauty's eyeshadow formulas. Nobody had ever really raved about them, so I assumed it wasn't that good. And I heard tons of people recommend this product. I saw tons of reviews coming out of it, and I still wasn't convinced, but eventually I just kind of bit the bullet and tried it out, and holy cow, I was so mistaken. All of the mattes and all of these shimmers are so pigmented. That is a swatch of them there. The eyeshadow formula of this one is similar to that one of Colourpop. Like the mattes are kind of creamy, smooth, and they blend out nicely. They're also very pigmented and they're not patchy or streaky. They don't have any chunky glitter in them. This one is the only one that has glitter, but even this one is pigmented. Look at that. You could tell that it's an actual black, and the glitter in here isn't like chunky, like all you're gonna see is like spots. And sometimes when you have glitter in an eyeshadow, it's very hard to have a smooth consistency to be able to blend it out and to be able to work with it, but not with this palette. This palette is definitely pigmented. It definitely blends out nicely. It works nicely. All of the colors are so beautiful, and it is more on the warm tone side because I love warm tones. I could literally use the same oranges and nude kind of shades every single day and never get bored of them. So these tend to be more warm tone, but I really love the overall collection of eyeshadows and the colors work together nicely. So this is definitely a really good palette. Do not sleep on this palette like I was doing because it's literally a really good one. This next eyeshadow palette has been big for quite some time. You can pick this up at Ulta now, and this is from BH Cosmetics and Carly Bible. It is the deluxe edition eyeshadow palette. She came out with a Carly Bible palette last year, I think, and then recently, I think the beginning of this year, of the 2017, she relaunched and added more like shades and stuff, but I absolutely love this palette. I loved the original one, and then when she came out with this one, first of all, I wanted to support Carly because I love the kind of person she is, and I just loved all the shades in this eyeshadow palette. The first formula of the eyeshadows that she came out with in the first palette was so good. I knew that this one was going to be just the same, and it really is. So again, you have more kind of warm tones, and you have an array of highlighters here, and all of them are just so pigmented. And I'll show you swatches, of course. They're more lighter tones. You can still see all the swatches right there, and it just kind of surprises me how little fallout each eyeshadow has, how well it blends, and how pigmented it is. Sometimes you do get the problem where they're so pigmented that you have a lot of fallout. I don't really mind as long as the eyeshadow works properly. It can blend out nicely and it's very pigmented, but these don't have that much crazy fallout. Like you can even see on the palette, there's not that much heavy fallout, but all the colors are still so beautiful, so pigmented. Like if you are on a budget and you want something that is travel friendly, that's not like too big, and it has highlighters and eyeshadows, this is perfect. You have like transition shades, you have lid shades, you have brow bone shades, inner corner highlights, face highlighters, and I just love the overall feel of this palette. I've created like really heavy going out glam kind of looks, and I've also created just very neutral like washes of color on the eye kind of looks. Like this palette, this one I think is the only one that's over $20. I think it's like 22 bucks. However, Ulta always has a $3.50 off of $15 or more for drugstore, and BH Cosmetics is on the drugstore side of Ulta, so you can always just use that $3.50 off coupon and get this for less than 20 bucks. Alrighty, and then the last eyeshadow palettes to talk to you guys about is from e.l.f. Cosmetics. They actually have two now in their collection, and these are the Mad for Matte eyeshadow palettes. I know that I've talked about these eyeshadow palettes before in the past in one or two of my videos, but I'll just show you again if you have not seen them. This top one is the Mad for Matte original palette, and this one reminds me a lot of like the Naked 2, I think. Yeah, the Naked 2 or the Naked Smoky from Urban Decay. It has definitely more like neutral to cool tones. And then this other eyeshadow palette, this one right here, is the Mad for Matte 2 palette. You still get neutrals, but then you get more of the warm kind of spectrum. One of these comes with a little mirror. These actually do come in handy if you're like on the go, and then they're very just thin little eyeshadow palettes. That's why it's called Mad for Matte, because these are all matte eyeshadows. But I was so impressed when I first picked this one up. I honestly picked it up on a recommendation. Didn't really have high hopes for this, but after using it, I was so shocked. All the shades in both of these eyeshadow palettes are very pigmented. They blend out so nicely. They give a good amount of pigmentation, and they're easily buildable. They just are everything I want in eyeshadows. Not to mention, if you have both of these two, you pretty much have every single matte eyeshadow that you want. You have like more kind of warm tones with this one. You have more kind of cool tones with this one. They're so versatile that you can create like smoky glam going out looks, or you can create just very neutral like washes of color on the eye, something very easy for work. If you're just looking for some really good matte eyeshadows to have in your collection that you can use with some of your favorite shimmer palettes, or if you have an eyeshadow palette that the mattes aren't working that well for you, or you want to pull a different color, these are really good like add-on palettes to any other eyeshadow palette. They're just so complementary to each other, and you can use them by themselves, or you can use them in conjunction with other eyeshadow palettes, and they get the job done perfectly. Alright, so that is it for my top 5 favorite drugstore eyeshadow palettes. Leave it down in the comments below what are some of your favorite eyeshadow palettes, or if you guys agree with any one of these that I mentioned. Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all that stuff is going to be linked down below for you guys, as well as coupon codes to help you save some money. Before you leave, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you guys learned something, as well as hit the subscribe button down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.